what do we have to do to get trust in a cold call? And actually, I asked him, how long do we have? And he said, 7 seconds. And I said, whoa, 7 seconds. That's kind of a quick answer. Our research says 8 seconds. He goes, your research is wrong. It's 7 seconds. What do we have to do in those 7 seconds? He says, oh, that's easy. I'm thinking this guy looking at like it's his second bourbon. He's what's going on here? And he says, no, that's easy. All we have to do is show the other person. We see the world through their eyes. We call it tactical empathy. Then we need to immediately demonstrate to them that we're competent to solve a problem they have right now. I said, well, isn't the problem they have right now me? And he says, bingo, that's why you can never lose in a cold call.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on what part of the world you're visiting us. I'm Daniel Marcos, your host of the podcast Learning Up, where we learn how to really take your company to a next level. Of course, you have to learn yourself, get your mindset, your tools to the next level so you could scale your company. And today we're going to be talking about a very, very popular subject, how to really create more sales by getting more phone calls and have meaningful conversations for your sales team. And today I'm with Beall. Chris is the CEO of ConnectAndSell, a sales solution that provides the market's most transparent demand generation solution. He has an AI-powered team of over 400 people that has generated over 4 million B2B conversations. And he has a projection of around 25 million of revenue by 2024. He has been a CEO for the past 30 years and has participated in building startup in the software industry and really focusing consistently on creating and talking to market simple products, really helping the market be able to have a product that helps them scale. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Fantastic, Daniel. Great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what is ConnectAndSell.
So ConnectAndSell is a simple way for a B2B sales rep to talk to all the people they need to talk to. It's really hard to get folks on the phone nowadays. You might call and end up in voicemail or with gatekeepers or God knows what for about an hour and then finally get a live person and then they say they're busy. So with ConnectAndSell, you don't do that. You push a button, you wait for 1, 2, 3 minutes, you talk to somebody on your list with no effort whatsoever. So you talk to 10 times as many people. Now, if you suck, well, then you suck. But if you're good, you'll do a lot of business.
So explain to me, so having calls with CEOs or with potential buyers has gone down significantly. And hey, I never answer my phone. If I don't see whoever I'm talking, it's hard for me to answer my phone and the rest. So tell me, first of all, the challenges that we're having in the market. And then what do you do to improve this? What's your technology and what have you learned of how to really communicate with potential buyers?
Well, the big challenges are in 2 areas. One are people don't answer their phone, just as you said. The other is they even answer their emails less. So it's gotten to the point where automatically generated emails with ChatGPT writing these beautiful emails that indicate to you that they don't care about you at all. They're just trying to trick you.
Yep.
Those I probably get 400 or 500 of those a day.
Yep.
And now it's even flooded into LinkedIn, where almost every LinkedIn indication or invitation is nothing more than a come on. So we have a problem. We have people who are hard to get hold of, and we have a lot of noise out there in the communication channels. And yet, until you have conversations, you have nothing in business. So what do we do about it, right? So what we've done is provided what I'll call a brute force attack on the problem. So instead of you dialing and navigating phone systems over and over and over and going to nowhere, by the way, voicemail is now nowhere also. So that's another challenge. Voicemails, they're transcribed. You read them and you go, that's somebody trying to sell me something. Enough of that, right?
Indeed. So I have 15 voice messages from last week that I have not yet.
That you haven't looked at, right? I've got 23 of them myself. I was just looking right before we got on. So the deal is, it turns out people do answer their phone. They just don't answer it very often. Some answer a lot and some answer less. We actually score 24 million people every night, but the people phone number combinations with regard to their proven propensity to answer the phone. So one thing we do is we know who answers. So we'll optimize your calling lists and call the people who answer. Why call the people who don't answer? And secondly, we do multiple calls in parallel with AI and humans navigating those calls so that you do no work. And this is the real key. You can do something else. You can pet your cat, you can drink your coffee, you can research your competitors or your customers, do whatever you want. And at some point, usually within 3 minutes or so, bloop, you're talking to somebody.
So the system goes to your database, whatever you have it, HubSpot or whatever CRM you have, and starts dialing until it gets someone on the phone. When they get a real phone, that's when it gets connected for the sales agent.
Exactly. And it goes through the database like you want it to. So it's, you say, I want this particular list, which is a report on the database, to be what I'm calling on right now. It could be a cold list. More importantly, it could be a follow-up list. When you talk to somebody, you want to talk to them again, probably. Nobody's ready to buy from you today, even a meeting. Who wants to even buy a meeting from you, right? For free.
Yeah.
It may be a great product. Meeting with me is a wonderful product, but nobody wants to buy it.
So I tell people that people buy from you whenever they're ready, not whenever you're ready. And we expect to sell whenever we want. Never going to happen.
Never going to happen. So we have to solve two problems. One is reach. We've got to get a hold of people and talk to them. But secondly, actually, within that reach, we need to build trust so that they'll talk to us again. And thirdly, we need to talk to them over and over and over until they're finally ready to buy.
Okay. How do you create that trust? So the reach, you could have a technology to get to that. How do you create the trust?
Well, what you need to do is in the first 7 seconds of the conversation, you only have 7 seconds to create trust, according to Chris Voss, FBI guy, the author of Never Split the Difference, How to Negotiate As If Your Life Depends on It. I probably butchered the title. Sorry, Chris. He told me at dinner one night the answer to that question. I asked him, what do we have to do to get trust in a cold call? And actually, I asked him, how long do we have? And he said 7 seconds. And I said, whoa, 7 seconds. That's kind of a quick answer. Our research says 8 seconds. He goes, your research is wrong. It's 7 seconds. Okay, great. What do we have to do in those 7 seconds? He says, oh, that's easy. I'm thinking this guy looking down like it's his second bourbon. He's what's going on here? And he says, no, that's easy. All we have to do is show the other person. We see the world through their eyes. We call it tactical empathy. Then we need to immediately demonstrate to them that we're competent to solve a problem they have right now. I said, well, isn't the problem they have right now me? And he says, bingo, that's why you can never lose in a cold call. So you do those two things in less than 7 seconds, and you get what I'll call involuntary trust. The other person will trust you, not because you have some deep relationship, but because you did the two things that the FBI and Harvard Business School and all these people have learned. And the FBI was doing it with lives on the line. Like, you don't get trust in 7 seconds. They replace the negotiator kind of lives, right? Mm-hmm. This is a cold call. Nobody's going to die here. So you really have an opportunity to turn that other person's fear of you as an invisible stranger who just ambushed them into trust in 7 seconds, 100% of the time. Takes skill. We teach it. We very reluctantly took up teaching people how to do this 6 years ago, because what we found is we delivered, so we do about $50 million a year. We deliver about 4 million conversations a year. So 4 million conversations that are bad are 4 million bad conversations, right? So we finally said, we're going to start teaching people how to do this. And the key to the whole thing in our flight school is for 3 hours of live conversations, we coach the first 7 seconds over and over and over until you get it right.
Wow. So I imagine one thing is the technology. The other one is executing the call right. So you said you teach them, but some companies have great sales agents and some have very incompetent sales agents, even after the training. So how can you guarantee your service and guarantee your results if you depend on the sales agent?
We can't really guarantee anything, but we're going to deliver the conversations and we're going to help you with your reps, with your lists, with your message. And by the way, we will give you enough information that if you need to help a rep go on to a new career somewhere else, you'll have hard facts to help you out because you'll know what happened on every single conversation, and they'll have a lot. My team, for instance, just our little SDR team of 10, they have 1,500 conversations a week with VPs of sales. Wow. They talk to 100,000 people a year, right? So I know if they're good or bad.
Yeah,
I got a lot of data.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the role of the CEO in the sales process. I really believe is the job of the CEO to make sure there's a predictable sales system in the company. So tell me about your relationship with the CEO, or how do you help the CEO design, or the sales team design the sales process so it's a more effective sales process?
Yeah, you have hit it on the nail. I mean, this is where it's at, right? I think most CEOs are sufficiently educated to know that the theory of constraints rules their business.
Yeah.
There is only one bottleneck. There can't be 4, 3, 2 bottlenecks. There's always one. That's what you need to find. That's what you need to understand, characterize. You need to know what's its throughput, what's its cycle time, what's its quality, right? Well, the bottleneck of almost every B2B organization is right at the top of their funnel. They're just not talking to enough people. And we help them design a system that starts by going from scarcity, we're not having enough conversations, to abundance, at which point now you can start to analyze. Now you can say, aha, are we talking to the right people? So we help them with things like, let's start by talking to everybody, not the right people, the wrong people, the right people, the other people.
Yeah.
Get over it. Now let's analyze reality from those conversations. How long are the conversations? What are the dispositions of the conversations? Analyze them with ChatGPT and find out, or a GPT engine, and say, hey, who's doing a good job and who's not? Where's it happening? Because you need to iterate. So sales system, you can't just design it and go, here it is, here's the pieces. You have to start with the bottleneck, which tends to be the top of the funnel. You have to get a hold of it. You increase the flow rate. You have to tune it. And then you have to sit back and watch. And I've been doing this in manufacturing for years and years, so it's easy to do it in sales, right? Making things is easier than making conversations. But it's also harder. I mean, it's, assemble this light bulb here. I can't do that, but I can talk to you. So we help from what I'll call a manufacturing mindset. And we look at it as a process that has human beings doing crucial things like getting trust, getting curiosity, overcoming apprehension in later calls and discovery calls. The other person is apprehensive. What's a better emotion to get them to? So taking folks on an emotional journey, which ultimately, this is what I teach CEOs. Look, your team's job is to take folks that don't know you on an emotional journey from being apprehensive, concerned, or whatever, to ultimately preferring you over themselves when it comes to making a decision.
Yeah.
People buy from people they trust to make a decision they don't trust themselves to make. That's your job. Let's design and iteratively execute a system that transparently makes that happen, that we can sample it along the way. Now, I'm an old physicist, mathematician by background. So I'm not a sales guy. That's not my background. My background is big math, right? Well, this is little math, but it's really important to math. Right? And that's what I talk to CEOs about. It's like, don't be at the mercy of a bunch of folks just talking. You've got to get a hold of the process.
Okay, now let's go to, whenever someone does have enough leads, everything you were talking about, when someone has already enough leads, what happens if someone has not enough leads and they want to get to a market that they don't have access, or they don't know who they are?
Well, we just did this last week with my wife's company. So her company, she works for MediaFly. She's the chief revenue officer there.
Okay.
And they have pivoted up market. So they're going for big companies now. Well, they don't have enough leads, right? In fact, you ever notice that when you go to big companies and you look at them, the titles don't mean the same thing from company to company?
Yes.
All the titles are different. They're all crazy, right? And then the titles people give themselves on LinkedIn are even crazier. They're like, oh, I'm the, global transformation, blah, 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 blah. So you got to talk to people in order to find out what's going on in those companies. That's simple. Use Zoom Info. We build lists. Everybody can build lists. There's so much data out there right now. Data is commoditized, right? So build a list. That's your hypothesis. Take some reps.
You could get any list and target it exactly the same that you do it with your actual list.
Yeah. And just start talking to them and make sure that when you talk to them, you don't forget. That's why you should record every conversation. You should have them transcribed. You should have them analyzed. And the answer to the question, did we learn anything, is right there in the transcript. Did you learn anything? Did you learn who? It's always yes, no, not me, not now. There's only 4 answers to an answer. Yes, fantastic. You'll meet with them and learn something. No, they're making a claim that may or may not be true. Yeah. Not me. Okay, then whom? Not now. Well, that's always true. So let's talk when, to be prepared for now when now comes.
Interesting. Okay. So tell me about learning on your organization. What was the biggest learning you've had recently about your sales process? I imagine you continually learn about sales process and you adapt and change your sales process.
Absolutely. Well, we've made a huge pivot ourselves. We used to sell Connect and Sell primarily by the dial. So you'd get a subscription for $100,000. You have a year to use them, whatever, right? We've switched to selling by the user, by the seat. So you buy so many users for such period, very classic SaaS kind of stuff, right? We could do that because we learned that we could actually automate about 50% of what goes on inside of our system. It used to be humans, now it's a mix. And by taking out half the cost, we could make a new offering. So now what we're learning is how fast can we sell that offering? So it's like, instead of having to kind of work so hard to get a sale, we're learning how to actually run a highly strategic but transactional business in B2B. That is, make it a transactional speed, but with strategic targeting. And that learning has been a big deal. The other thing that we've learned is these GPT models, like GPT-4, are incredibly good at doing some things we used to ask managers to do. Can you imagine? Say you're managing my SDR team. My SDR team has 1,500 conversations per week. Say you transcribed those into something that they're 1-minute conversations. So you transcribe them into something that takes you 1 minute to read.
Yeah.
Well, you spend 53 hours a week just reading the transcripts, and you'll forget all of them and so forth. So learning the power of bringing all the conversations together, feeding them to a GPT-4 engine, and asking it a simple question. Hey, who's having the biggest challenge keeping people on the phone? Who's having the biggest challenge staying engaged? Who's having the biggest challenge getting a meeting? Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly you're managing the team. So what we've learned is that this AI revolution can be applied to sales management in a way nobody thought about before. Everybody's thinking about coaching conversations. We're now looking at and doing coaching the entire team at once.
So how do you hire enough salespeople and train enough salespeople to you could really build a team? So I imagine you work with a lot of teams. You know what works in certain teams and what doesn't work. So tell me how to really build the right sales team, or how to build a functional sales team.
Well, I think you got to keep the teams much smaller than folks think. So throwing bodies at sales and then waiting for them to fail. The standard in sales is we hire somebody, we put them in a territory, and 6 months later we fire them. Yep. We call it putting them on a PIP, right? But we're really just firing them some sort of slow way. And so we find a couple of things. One is, in the interview process, anybody who wants to work for us has got to get on our system. We want to listen to them talk to people. That is the number one way, not to hire more, but to hire better. Because somebody who can't hold a cold call certainly can't close a 6-figure deal. That's all there is to it. So we want to find out, can they even jump over, like a little stack of pennies before we ask them to pole vault 17 feet? So that one is super effective. Second, give them an environment where they're getting to do what they want to do, what they're good at. Most salespeople, I'll be frank, they don't read very well. The great readers and math guys in school did not go into sales. They just didn't, because the intuitions that you need around human beings tend to develop more when you're challenged at a young age with just life, and life is school when you're young. School is very challenging if you have dyslexia or anything like it, if you have ADD or anything like it. You ever notice how many salespeople are sort of male, left-handed, colorblind ADD dyslexics? And they're great. They're the Richard Bransons of the world, right? They're incredibly capable of causing you or I to think new thoughts, things we never considered before just by talking to us. Okay, well, those are the greatest salespeople. So why are we asking them to be administrators of a CRM? So number 2 is take all of the administrative burden away from your salespeople that you can, and measure that by asking this question. How many hours a day or minutes or whatever are they spending in actual conversations with customers? So I go through my team's conversations, not the cold calls. Those are easy. There's too many of them. But I actually go through the meetings every day. I sit there with one of those meeting summarizers on my phone, with whiskey over here on the side, and I just go one after another. And it's like, I get impressions of what's going on in the business, where our challenges are. I'm kind of on the front lines. I'm not doing it to critique individual reps. I'm doing it to get a feel for the business. None of those reps had to do anything except show up at those meetings and move the ball forward. And if they're meeting 2, 3, 4 times a day, I'm happy. If they're meeting once a week, I wonder what's going on. They can't be happy. So why would a great one come to work for a company that turns them into a CRM admin?
Yeah. Oh, they hate that.
They hate it.
All right. So to close the episode, what are the three things that are not working in sales today? And what are the three things that are working in sales today?
Well, one thing that's not working in sales today is sending tons of emails, cold emails. That ain't working. Another thing that's not working in sales today is having a bunch of lone wolves assigned to territories and hoping it works out. The no process approach doesn't work either, right? So that's problematic. Another thing that's not working is, I'll call it, the most recent tricks. So the tricks like social break down quickly from noise. So noise turns out to be your biggest competitor, and nobody knows what to do about the noise. So we know one thing that does work, or we wouldn't be in business, which is talking to more people. I think another thing that's working is paying attention to guys like and gals like Anthony Iannarino, who has a book on elite sales strategies. Yeah. And that book opens with that quote I gave you earlier. People buy from people they trust to make a decision they don't trust themselves to make. Why do I remember that quote? Because he's quoting me and he didn't tell me he was going to do it. And I thought it was pretty funny. So, like Andy Paul, selling without selling out, right? Getting that mindset change that says, I'm not here to make you do anything. I'm an expert who is on your side. And I win when you decide that whenever you're going to buy from me. And meanwhile, you're going to accept my guidance. So that, I think, is working and working increasingly well, but it's in pockets. Not everybody wants to do it because not everybody wants to do it. Another thing that's working, interestingly, is AEs, account executives, using technology that they can stand to use, which means it has to be easy for them to actually prospect on their own. Because when an AE gets somebody new that they have a relationship with, the odds of them winning that deal go almost to 100% when they're first to build the relationship. And there's been a lot of emphasis on, I'll call it, hyper efficiency with SDR teams and all that kind of stuff. And I think what we're seeing now is, you know what? You can actually use technology to have AEs create their own flow of meetings, and those meetings they won't complain about because they set the meeting themselves. And they'll have a different attitude, and they'll get to the other end with either a deal or a good no deal.
All right. So Chris, thank you very much. If someone wants to look for you and reach out to you, where can they follow you? Where can they learn more from you?
Well, I have a podcast called Market Dominance Guys with Corey Frank. It's got 207 episodes now. If you want to hear me go on and on and on about how to dominate markets, you can hear it. Corey decided to start interviewing me in 2019 to force a book out of me. The book still hasn't happened, but the podcast is there. So Market Dominance Guys, it's everywhere. Go listen to it. You can go to ConnectAndSell and sign up for a test drive. I'm not very interesting. The experience of driving this thing, we call it the Ferrari of sales, is pretty mind-blowing. It's not a demo. It's not any of that normal crap. It is like, in those 2 hours or 3 hours, you're going to change your mind about what's possible because you just experienced it.
That's very cool. Really interesting. And congrats on getting all the AI and really analyzing data with AI. Everyone's talking about generative and write letters and these things. You're really using it to get market intelligence and be able to fix your operation and improve and learn faster. I thought that was fascinating. Congrats.
Thanks. I've been doing AI since 1992. I was kind of a pioneer in the application of AI to categorization. So when I see a problem, I always go, well, can I use AI to categorize first before I take action?
So what are your AI favorite tools?
I'm actually a big fan of GPT-4 because it's not so much its tool like its tricks, it's its knowledge. It blends its knowledge with our data. And that doesn't sound super powerful, but it really is, because after all, that thing has been loaded up with data about everything. And there's a lot of data about sales out there, a lot of data about business. And so having that data intelligently at your fingertips, and then you put your own data in and let it blend them. And I'll tell you what, prompt engineering is a lot more fun than writing code. I've written more than 1 million lines of code. I'd rather talk to that bot any day of the week.
That's really cool. All right. Chris, thank you very much. Great pleasure. Learned a lot. I imagine my audience is going to learn a lot. So thank you very much for your time and your knowledge. and look forward to continuing conversations. And of course, I'm going to go to your podcast to continue learning how to dominate the market.
All right. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.